This episode of the LCTV News is brought to you by North Shore Community College. If you have the will to attend college, we have the way for you to earn your degree.
Hello and welcome to LCTV News. I'm News Director Dani Vittori, and this week, city officials took center stage in both the headlines and the lowdown. We had Dan Sullivan, newly appointed Lynn Fire Chief, on the show to discuss his first few months on the job. For news, Earth Day was celebrated, a new councilor was sworn in, and grants were awarded. Here's the news for Friday, April 28th, 2023. Governor Maura Healey named Thomas McGee, former mayor of Lynn, to the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority Board of Directors this past weekend. Before his tenure as mayor, McGee served from 2011 to 2018 as the Senate Chair of the Joint Committee, giving him the experience working in both transportation and legislation to make him a good fit for the role. In a statement, he expressed his desire to work on the safety issues surrounding the MBTA and bring it up to 21st century standards. McGee also believes that the connections and relationships he made as mayor of Lynn will further help him when working with local transportation agencies as well as state ones. Last Friday, the 24th, the Food Project hosted Decorate a Plant Pot outside City Hall. Kids got the chance to paint a pot, then plant beans in them as a way to learn where food comes from and how to grow it themselves. Here is more from the event.
This is an event for Earth Day. We're having a family event where we're making them decorate the pots and we're planting beans together.
So we have kids and their family come around so they get a chance to paint the pots, and they make like a pot of soil and they can grow their own bean. Then we give them like information on how to take care of their plants.
So this is in collaboration with City Hall and the Lynn Parks and Rec Department. I think it's important for kids to have hands-on experience knowing where food comes from, how to grow their own food. It's more environmentally conscious, being able to be there for every step of the process of growing. Instead of getting it just from a grocery store, you don't really know where it's coming from. Here, you'll be able to see the entire process from seed to plant to bud and be able to cook and eat your own food, which is a really rewarding process.
I'm just grateful for City Hall for offering us this experience. It's a very nice day, and I feel like it's a perfect day there's a lot of kids around and their family, their foods, and just a lot of fun activity for them to do.
I'm grateful for this beautiful weather that we're having. It's a little bit windy, but it's nice and sunny, and it's great to see all sorts of people coming in. We have Girls Inc. coming in too, with a bunch of their kids, so it's really nice just to see all the families come together and learn about planting and have some fun time and eat some pizza.
After the passing of Councilor At-Large Buzzy Barton, President and founder of North Shore Juneteenth Association, Nicole McClain, is taking over. She is excited to take on the role and was officially sworn in as a Councilor at Large this past Tuesday, the 25th, in front of a packed house. LCTV recorded a statement with McClain where she discussed the impact of following in the late Councilor Barton's footsteps. Take a look.
I will be taking over as Councilor at Large due to the sad passing of Buzzy Barton, who was a beloved councilor in the city of Lynn. And I feel the tremendous weight of that responsibility. Taking over after someone who has served such a long term and given so much to the community, I want to make sure that I follow in those footsteps, and I'm doing the best job possible for our residents in Lynn. Being the Councilor at Large is something I campaigned for in 2021, and I really did not intend to campaign this cycle. I was going to wait until 2025, and I was going to then, try again and campaign against the incumbents. It was what I thought was going to happen, and hearing of Buzzy's passing was a shock, and being at his wake was amazing. That the city really honored him and really showed up for him, and that really signaled to me how much love and support and dedication he gave to the community. And seeing all that long line in City Hall for him, it just really made me realize that that's what I want to be for the community as well. I want to be that support and that person that the residents can come to, and that community organizations can come to and depend on, as they did Buzzy Barton. So I feel the weight of that. I'm honored and humbled to be being sworn in tomorrow, April 25th at 5 p.m. And I will be the first Black woman to be a Councilor at Large in our city. So that's another weight. I know I won't be the last, which also makes me excited and happy to know I'm the first, but I will definitely not be the last. And I am honored and taking this position very seriously.
To watch the swearing-in ceremony, go to lyntv.org or Lynn Community Television on YouTube. Celebrating Earth Day, there was a tree planting at Red Rock Park, followed by a park cleanup at Lynn Common on the 22nd. The DPW and Lynn City officials, as well as community volunteers, banded together to make the event a success. Take a look.
Saturday, April 22nd turned out to be quite busy for Lynn officials, starting with a tree planting ceremony at Red Rock Park and following up with a cleanup of the Lynn Common. The city celebrated the 53rd anniversary of Earth Day. I spoke to the co-chairs of the City of Lynn Litter Committee, Councilor At-Large Brian Field and Ward 5 Councilor Diana Shakoutis.
We're here to make a difference in the city. We know that litter is a huge issue in our city. It's brought to our attention almost daily, and we can see that many hands make light work. And today, just looking at the number of volunteers, we should have the commons cleaned up in no time today.
Are you most impressed, especially with the young turnout?
We are. A lot of the kids are doing community services through the schools. We have St. Mary's Track and Field here right now, volunteering their time with their coach. It's great to see the kids out here also.
We're here with our Mayor, Jared Nicholson, Associate DPW Commissioner Lisa Nerrick, who plays a key role in supporting our litter committee and our agenda to help keep our city clean.
Why else would you say events like these are important for the city?
For the community to come together as one, to represent their community and take pride in it and keep it clean.
The neighbors appreciate it. We've gotten thank you cards. We've gotten thank you messages from people in the community. And we're leading by example. This is all about teaching our younger generation to help pitch in and make a difference in our community. And that's what we're here to do.
For LCTV News, I'm Josh Englander.
The Planning Department has officially released a draft of Vision Lynn, the city's comprehensive plan. It is the 20-year vision for the city, which includes the shared goals and values of Lynn. Comments are being accepted from the public through May 15th, after which a final plan will be completed and presented to City Council for an endorsement on June 13th. The Planning Department worked with LCTV to create videos in both English and Spanish explaining the plan and its goals. Here's a clip from the video.
Right. The goal here is to have development solve our problems, not make new ones.
Exactly. Finally, the chapter ends with our short-term priorities. Vision Lynn is a long-term 20-year plan, but we think there are a few things we can tackle in the next 5 years.
The first are specific to geographic areas. We want to move forward with the waterfront transformation. We also want to continue enhancing our downtown. And we want to start laying the groundwork for an enhanced Market Square by researching how to improve the traffic circulation there and make it safer for pedestrians.
To see the full video, as well as an article outlining the plan, go to our website, lyntv.org. Also on Saturday was the opening ceremony for East Lynn Little League. Parents and kids alike participated in a parade ending at the field. Here's more.
We got a little parade going on for the kids, for the Little League East Lynn. Doing it about fundraiser, trying to help out the Little League. Just trying to make sure that all these kids have fun, enjoy their time here.
The best part of it was the joy of the kids. You come down, you teach them some fundamentals.
This is going to be my second year here. I enjoyed these 2 years that I've been here with my daughters. They've learned a lot through here. Good environment.
While they're out here playing on the field, other kids see them. Hopefully that'll get more kids involved to come and join.
Well, you know, I'm hoping that they get, you know what I mean, it's not always about winning. It's them having fun. That's why we're here, to just make sure that they all have fun.
The more kids that come, it keeps them off the streets, not in trouble, and you learn some basic skills about life with Little League.
It keeps kids out of the streets and let them enjoy themselves.
Most of all, it shows our pride, the pride in the kids that we have in this city, to get them down involved, and the parents that come. The more you're involved with sports and Little League, it's better for the body and the mind, and it keeps them on the right path, you know.
The Essex County Community Organization was one of 140 organizations picked from 580 total applicants to receive a grant through the Cummings Foundation's $25 million grant program. The ECCO will get $100,000 over the course of 3 years and plans to use the money to support their affordable housing campaign. This is the second time they have received the grant as part of the Cummings Foundation to support local nonprofits and the resources they provide. ECCO also scored a major win when they helped get $15 million in ARPA funding allocated to support affordable housing in Lynn. This past Tuesday, City Hall held a Women's History Month panel. 7 female leaders answered the questions what obstacle they have to overcome, as well as participated in a Q&A session. Here's more.
And as women, we face obstacles daily that our male counterparts do not face. So when you're the first of anything, you go through so many isms, such as ageism, racism, sexism, and oftentimes when I was knocking on doors and meeting new people, I was met with resistance of, you haven't been around here long enough. Maybe you should wear a miniskirt for my vote. Maybe go out with me instead, and maybe I'll vote for you. And accusing me of only caring about immigrant communities. Nothing is wrong with caring about all communities, especially all vulnerable populations. But essentially, being the first of anything where these spaces aren't filled with people that look like you, they're telling you that you don't belong. And being able to overcome that has been challenging, but what I sought was community. Community members, other women who have done the fight, who have been there and are able to lead the way.
To watch the full coverage, go to lyntv.org. The Lynn Water and Sewer Commission is beginning hydrant flushing on weekends, April through May, from 6 to 10 p.m. This is a necessary measure to clear the distribution system of residual materials to ensure better water quality this summer. During flushing, rusty or dirty water may be experienced by residents. If this is the case, run the tap for several minutes until the water appears clean again, and if doing laundry, check the schedule beforehand. Visit lyntv.org for the full schedule. Yesterday, the 27th, Beyond Walls hosted an event with a visiting artist from Atlanta. She spoke with a group of young people from the Haven Project about the work Beyond Walls does and the importance of urban art. Take a look.
Really appreciate you having us today. I picked up Keith last night from Atlanta. The biggest MacGyver I know that can do everything is Keith. We came to meet doing Beyond Walls work, which is to activate space to strengthen communities. That's always community fed.
I want to thank you guys so much for letting me come into your space. I'm here to give a big presentation tomorrow. And I think that for me to make that happen, I need to call on friends. I need somebody who has more information about this place than I do. And so I'm kind of counting on you guys for that to kind of help me out. You know, do you feel like those murals make a difference? Do you enjoy seeing them?
I honestly feel like Lynn itself needs to get worked on a lot. New buildings that cost so much for rent, they should be building stuff that they use. They should be building more shelters for the homeless, you know, do something that actually makes a difference. I feel like the murals, yeah, they're really nice to look at, you know what I mean? But like, most of the murals are on buildings that are gonna get torn down soon, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, it's sad to see people put in so much work for something that's gonna honestly get destroyed, or who knows what's gonna happen to it.
Yeah. You know, now, even street artists who are doing these murals you saw, we usually are able to put them up in places that are rundown buildings because no one cares. On a new building, somebody's like, no, we don't want anybody to put anything on. So while you're right that we've got all this expensive, unaffordable housing going in, it's not too much of a problem for us as artists knowing that we're putting up something temporary, right? And sometimes maybe to make people outside appreciate it, they have to appreciate it when it's gone. They sure like it when it's there, but what happens when it's gone? You know what I mean?
On deck, the sports update. St. Mary's softball remains perfect at 8-0. They were down 4-2 in the fourth against Somerset Berkeley. The Spartans then outscored them 5-0 to end the game in a 7-4 win. Laurie Suriel drove in the game-winning runs on a single in the fifth. This was followed by a 5-0 win over Stang. In baseball, St. Mary's dropped back to even at 4-4 after a 4-1 defeat by Stang, despite a hard-fought battle on both sides. Their girls lacrosse team faltered 14-8 against Georgetown, but bounced back with a 15-4 win against St. Joseph's Prep and a narrow 12-11 win over Stang. In boys lacrosse, the Spartans were defeated 14-1 by Linfield. Both their girls and boys tennis lost 4-1 against Spielman and 4-1 to Gloucester. Lynn Jets lacrosse are on a 4-game winning streak after downing Revere 9-4. Led by Nick Costa with 3 goals, the Jets went up 4-0 in the first and never looked back. They are on a roll with a 10-4 win over Salem, where Ryan Dunn recorded 4 goals. For the Lynn Tech Tigers, they came out on top 28-26 in a high-scoring softball game against BCCS Charter. Led by freshman Zoe Wilson, going 6 for 7 with 4 RBIs, and 8th grader Genevieve McCaffrey going 5 for 6 with 8 RBIs and a grand slam. Their baseball team fought back for an 8-4 victory against the Minutemen. Both their girls and boys track teams retained a perfect record of 3-0 after beating Neshoba Tech on the 26th. In a city rivalry, English and Classical played each other 3 times this past week. English came out with a 3-2 victory in boys tennis. The Bulldogs moved to 3-2 on the year, sweeping first and second doubles for the win. In girls tennis, Classical was the victor 3-2, with 2 freshman Rams recording their first varsity wins. English baseball lost to Medford 14-9, giving away a 5-5 tie in the 5th. The Lynn teams also battled in baseball, where Classical came out on top 5-3. This was followed by another victory for the Rams, shutting out Chelsea 12-0 and downing Revere 8-6. In softball, they had a dominant 20-2 victory against Chelsea, followed by another strong 14-4 win against Revere. The Classical girls boys track teams both fell to Revere 93-29 and 96-35, as boys and girls tennis were blanked by Latin Academy 5-0. The Red Sox traded wins and losses, winning 2 of 3 against the Milwaukee Brewers before dropping 2 of 3 games to the Baltimore Orioles. Masataka Yoshida became the first Japanese-born player to hit 2 home runs in 1 inning, a feat he accomplished Sunday over the Brewers, recording 6 RBIs. For the Celtics, they hung on 129-121 on Sunday the 23rd. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum tied with 31 points, while 4 other Celtics also scored in double digits. Several impressive feeds by Brown to Robert Williams III late in the fourth helped secure the win for Boston. In front of their home crowd, they were unable to put away the series, losing 119 to 117, despite stellar performances by Brown and Derek White. Back in Atlanta, it was a back-and-forth game all night, with neither team ever able to gain much of a lead. Halfway through the fourth, the Celtics began to gain momentum, as Marcus Smart drained a three, and Tatum had an offensive rebound dunk. They won 128 to 120, knocking out the Hawks and advancing to play the Philadelphia 76ers. The Bruins are ahead in their series and just one win away from advancing. They dropped the second game at home, but rebounded to win both games in Florida, including a 6-2 win on the 23rd. A diving save by Bruins goalie Linus Ullmark kept the score at 0-0. Boston struck first when Brad Marchand punched in a loose puck. Taylor Hall was back in the lineup and made his presence known with 2 goals. A 4-goal third for the Bruins put the game out of reach. They were unable to secure the series at home, losing 4-3 in overtime, and are traveling back to Florida at 3-2 in the series. Dan Sullivan, who took over as Lynn Fire Chief in January, joined us on the Lowdown to discuss his plan for the department, as well as how he got to this point in his career. Here is the Lowdown. Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Dani Vittori, and today we have on Fire Chief Dan Sullivan. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So we'll just dive right into it. You're still a relatively new chief. You got inaugurated back in January, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's only been a few months. It's been a lot thrown at me, so I'm learning a lot. I'm truly liking the job.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's always good to like your job, right? Yeah. And as you're going into it, I've heard a little bit about what you've talked about, like your mental health initiatives, certain things, but what would you say are sort of your goals for a chief?
So I guess every chief or every firefighter has a goal of safety. We want to make sure that, our friends go home to their families and more importantly, are there tomorrow, right? It's not just going home, it's being able to get to the next day. So some of the things we've been working on is increasing the range of classes that we're preparing the firefighters for. So safety and survival classes, not just fire extinguishment, or forcible entry, but what can they do to help protect themselves. Some of the other things that we're looking at is data collection. So, we're in a time now where knowledge is power, and if you don't have the information to go to the city to, ask for specific resources, then, I don't think we stand a chance. So, having the right numbers to have an educated discussion about. We're also looking at increasing the way, or changing the way we think about responses. So there's a movement throughout the country to, instead of just police and fire, to go to emergency calls after 911 is dialed. We'd like to get to the people before they're injured, or sick or hurt. So looking at different models, different ways of, doing that, whether it be going out and knocking on doors or checking on your neighbor, things like that, making sure that, the lighting in their home is appropriate, that there's no loose carpeting, so that no one trips. Obviously that their smoke detectors and stuff are working. So things like that. Those are pretty basic initiatives, but I think if we start at the basics, then we can work from there.
Mm-hmm. And they're important initiatives too, because it also helps you get more involved with the community as well, so they might know you a little bit better, which would also help.
Yeah, so I've been trying to get out as much as I can. Anytime I see an event from the city, if my calendar allows, and I'd like to go and just meet the people. I think in the beginning of your career, and you should be selfish, right? You should learn the job. You should learn how you can operate to better serve the community. And then once you learn the job, Now it's time to start to give back, and that's where you start getting, at least for myself, I start getting back out into the community. And yeah.
Because you teach at the Fire Academy as well, correct?
Yeah, so it was close to 15 years ago. I was actually taking a class, and the instructor came up and asked if I wanted to teach at some point. And I made the comment, I wanted to make sure I had enough experience. And I think at the time, I probably had 11, 12 years on the job. And, he thought that was enough, but in my mind, it didn't. Because, you look at, the academy instructors, like, you really look up to them. And I wasn't sure I was at that point in my career. But I did. I started teaching there and found a new passion to just help give back. I said, I truly don't even know how much money I make there. It's more about giving back to the, to the fire community in that way, and help prepare some of the new firefighters for the challenges that they're going to face.
And as I'll kind of transition a little back to as chief, what would you say are kind of, I know every day is different for you, but typically what's sort of a day-to-day thing for you?
It's funny at how overwhelming it can be. So one minute you're talking, something that makes everybody happy. Another minute you're talking about something that makes people sad. Then you're talking about budget issues. You're talking about, procedural issues. It seems like almost minute to minute, your focus changes. Unlike, what you've been, or what I've prepared for was to fix an emergency, right? So go there, spend whatever time it is to fix that emergency, and then you get to decompress. With this one, your day is constantly, bouncing from one subject to the next. And I would say that's probably my biggest challenge, is just learning how to navigate the day. But I truly am enjoying the challenge of it all.
It's always good when you're enjoying it too, and you've spoken a bit about how important and supportive your family has been as well. So how do you find that balance between work and personal life?
Yeah, so before I accepted the position, we had a discussion and said, for the next few years, we're going to have to look for time to set aside. So right now it's, we'll spend at least one day a week with the family. I'm trying for one day a week, like a weekend, I should say, to teach at the Fire Academy, and then the 5 days a week is for the community. Does that mean that I turn the phones off on the weekend? No. I can say my wife and I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. 3:30. We're out the door by 4:30 to go for either a walk or a jog. So we do that faithfully every morning, rain, snow, sleet, whatever. And I guess that's the quiet time. It's dark. We go through the woods. We use the headlamps, but you see the wildlife, you see the deer, you see the coyotes, the rabbits, and I guess that's a good start to the day. And then on the weekends, if we're out for a hike or something and you get a phone call, I guess you're already, out in nature, and it just makes it go a lot smoother, less stressful.
Definitely. And how long, I probably should ask this earlier, but how long actually have you been involved, like being a firefighter, moving up the ranks? How long have you?
So this is coming on 27 years. I got hired in 1996. And I guess you never think that you're prepared. It was about 8 years before I made lieutenant. I think I was in as a lieutenant for maybe 5 or 6 years. Then I made captain. And I spent a few years at each level. Most recently, I was the acting deputy only for a couple months. So transition into this role, I didn't have much time to prepare, so, but Chief Archer has been great. So anytime I have a question, he's, right there. I'll send him a text and ask if he can take a quick phone call, and he's right there to help out. So that fire family, doesn't end, in retirement.
You've been in Lynn your entire career.
I was born and raised in Lynn. I grew up over in West Lynn, and now I live up over in East Lynn, right off of Highland Ave, or Weston Ave, really, right over by Buchanan Bridge. So we'll never leave. It's a big city with a small a small city mentality. So even though we have, well over 100,000 people in the city, you seem to know everybody. You go to, an event, a running event or a baseball game or something like that, and half the people there. So it's nice. It's nice.
And one of the things I'll ask you is, for anyone who's thinking of maybe entering into a career as a firefighter, so what would you maybe say to them that you wish someone had given to you?
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. So one of the things that I would like to do for the community once I get my feet underneath me is just to help the community navigate the civil service system, not just become a firefighter. So one of the things I'd like to do is get some representatives from the police department, the postal service, our fire alarm. So civil service is a division of the state that manages the testing process for us to get these types of jobs. And not very many people know how to do it unless you know someone in one of these jobs. Well, there are plenty of people out there that are deserving of these and just don't know how to get there. So I'd like to help by introducing them to the system, help them prepare for whatever test they want. To get back to your original question, if people are interested in the fire service, I would say it's unlike the past where people thought it was just, strength and a little bit of knowledge. There's a lot now. The things that burn, the emergencies that we go to are very challenging. So if I would say to the people that are in school, study hard. You have to exercise. It's definitely a physical job. Like I said, 27 years, and my job right now is just to, go get money for, the department and point, if we're at a fire scene. I still exercise because it's been ingrained into me over the past 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm. And I know we wrap up in a minute, but is there anything that I haven't asked about or anything I didn't touch on that you wanted to discuss?
No, I would just want the community to know that I'm approachable. Where, I try to get out into the community and see different people, the different organizations that are going on. And that's, I guess, something that I guess I feel bad that I hadn't done it up until, the past few months. Obviously, you see certain organizations, but you don't see the full range of, things that the city has to offer. And by going to, these events, I'm meeting a lot of really good people and, and making a lot of really good friends.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I want to thank you again for coming on to talk about these experiences and share that with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, anytime. And once again, I'm Dani Vittori. This has been the Lynn Lowdown, and we'll see you next week with more guests. Up next, the community calendar. Wednesday the 3rd, the Lynn Museum is hosting a 125th Roaring Anniversary celebration and fundraiser. They will be bringing back the Fluff Factory Speakeasy for one night only, including punch and live jazz. Tickets are $75 for one or $125 for two. Vision Lynn is hosting office hours from 10 to 11 a.m. Thursday, May 2nd at Brickyard Collaborative, 760 Western Ave. Being offered in both English and Spanish, residents can come by to ask questions about the draft plan released earlier this month. Next Saturday, there are several events happening, one of which is the second annual Sweet Sadie's Benefit Concert, put on at the Knights of Columbus by the nonprofit Sweet Sadie's Difference Makers. The organization and concert were organized in memory of Sarah McIsaac and give out two $1,500 scholarships to those in need attending North Shore Community College. For more, go to lyntv.org. That brings us to the end of the news for this week. Go to Lynn Community Television on YouTube for our videos and event coverage. Also, follow us on social media at Lynn Community Television to get updates for the city. And go to lyntv.org for press releases, interviews, and videos. I'm Dani Vittori. This is LCTV News, and we will see you next week.